Welcome to the Find Your Shine Again podcast. I'm Maximilian Messler, your host and transformational expert. Each episode features inspiring journeys of real people overcoming life's challenges, emerging stronger, more resilient, and happier. My philosophy: transformation can be rapid and profound. I've discovered on my own journey that so much more is possible when we harness the power of our mind, an untapped potential within us all beyond imagination. And today I'm really excited to introduce to you our special guest, Suzanne, whose journey is nothing short but extraordinary. And Suzanne, I'm truly honored and grateful to have you here on the show today. So, can you share with us a crucial moment from your own journey where you felt truly confident in expressing yourself and experienced a sense of freedom from the weight of others' opinions?
hmm Hi, Max. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Now, I suppose I would say after the RTT session that we had, that was obviously part of a journey that I've been on, but that was really a significant moment because I dealt with things around, the anxiety that I'd had, and I suppose moving myself forwards, but you you tend to get to another block and then you have to go to deal with that and then another block. But what I suppose the session with you, what kind of I suppose that released was it just took away I suppose the thing that we all have, that feeling of being judged by everyone and wanting to not be myself. But after the session, it was kind of like that had just gone. It was kind of like I was just me. I felt, I could say what I wanted to say, be who I wanted to be, and I didn't feel like there wasn't that thing about, "Ooh, do you think you should? Do you
Mhm.
think, that had gone? It could completely sort of released and just felt, calm to just be me.
Yeah. That's incredible, Suzanne. And I'm so grateful that you had such an amazing
Mm.
transformation. What would you say was a moment or a situation where you really felt, oh, okay, it's gone? Before I wouldn't have done that, but now I'm free of it and I just do what I feel doing.
Yeah, I suppose it's just um a conversation. I'm just trying to think of the moment because you don't realize sometimes straight away
Mhm,
until you kind of look back and then you think, oh, you know, I wouldn't have normally have said that.
mhm,
Or done that. And I think one of the things was that obviously, I'm an RTT therapist as well.
mhm,
And I wasn't, I suppose, wanting to be visible because of the people judgment. And I think it was a case of a couple of days um after the session, I just kind of, and I don't like watching myself on video. I can't
mhm,
stand hearing my own voice for some reason. It's just like, oh my God, don't listen to that. And I just kind of thought, right, what am I going to do today to take this business forward? And just kind of recorded a video and then put it straight online. And then afterwards thought, oh, I didn't even watch it. I didn't even sort of sit there and think, "Oh, no, redo it, and then not put it. I just did it, put it up there on and it was just like, I didn't realize straight away. And then I was like, you know, like I said, you carried on sort of, just sort of saying what I thought without hesitation to every conversation I was having with, with anybody really. Usually I think everything through and, but then when you look back, I thought, oh, wow, I just did that. had that conversation with, with that person who just said, that, and you just think, oh, okay, that's brilliant. And it was just so amazing to be that free.
And I'm so excited to see you because I mean we've worked together, and then I mean I was also following you obviously on your social media,
Hmm.
and then I just saw one post after another, and I was so proud and so happy for you that you just went out there like you described and just really put yourself out there. And I mean, how incredible. The best, I mean, thing is you're now here talking to me on
Hmm.
this podcast where I'm so happy and grateful that you're come
Hmm.
as a guest on my show. And do you think you would have done this before you had the RTT session working around the topic of the confidence?
No, no, not at all, not at all. Especially when you said, "Oh, it's going to be on video." I mean, I think if if it, I mean, I don't like the sound of my own voice, so that was the first difficulty to get over. Then you was like, "Oh my God, it's going to be on video," and but there was, before that would have been, no, no, I'm not doing that. I'm
No.
just going to sound, but it was just a case of, yeah, no worries, let's do it, And afterwards, I thought, oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, I
I
love it.
know. You were so straightforward. You were, I'm doing it, I'm
Yeah,
in. And I was
just
like,
do it.
okay, that's good. That's so good.
Hmm.
So great. So great. And it's so empowering, also for others to see and to hear this, that it's possible, because sometimes we think, I can never ever free myself from the anxiety, from the overthinking, from the fear of being judged. And it's possible. And you are the testimonial, you're right. You wouldn't have done this before. And just like maybe 1 month, 2 months after now, I mean, you are here on this podcast and it's so incredible. So
Hmm.
thank you definitely for being here. And so I'm also talking about resilience on my podcast because, like you already said, life throws a lot of things to us in our ways, and there are many blocks we usually face. So, can you share with us a time or something where you faced adversity in your life and then you surprised yourself actually with your ability to bounce back? And what insights did you gain from that experience?
Hmm. I suppose something that was really big was like about nearly 3 years ago, my mum died, and she was like a massive sort of thing in my life. And I think that was always something I feared would happen. People die, we know that, but she was ill, and I kept sort of counting Christmases. I thinking this is the last one, and she made another one. She made another one. So, but it was always my biggest fear that if anything happened to her, what would I? How would I cope?
Mm.
Um, but with all the stuff that RTT teaches you about your mind and how to deal with it,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't fall apart. I mean, I got upset obviously, but I didn't fall apart. I held the family together. I almost took my mum's place in holding the family together. Took care of my dad because my dad had had a stroke not a short time before my mum died. So, and I held him together because he was in pieces. And I managed to stand up at the funeral and talk about my mum, which I, I, I'd never have been able to do that because I would have just been, no, I can't do it. But using like my mind, saying things to myself to say, come on, you can do this. Just breathe, just do this for your mom. Take care of your dad. And so I suppose manage it, but still being able to deal with my grief as well. But in a sort of, I suppose, not a control, because I don't like that word. But just being able to cope with it and deal with it and move forward. um because it was just so massive, everything happened at once. But I just dealt with it. When I look back now, I just think, "Phew, that's a
Mm.
different me."
That's a different, that's
Yeah.
a lot. And I'm really sorry for your loss because I know how it feels. Like I've lost my mom when I was 9, and it's always too early. Like,
Hmm.
and it's a lot. So I really see how like resilient you've been, and I think also what was great when you shared, allowing yourself to feel the grief and to go
Mhm.
through the pain, because it's painful, right, to lose a
Yeah.
person so dear to your heart like your mother, and still being able to tell yourself, I've got this, I focus on the next step moving forward, and just dialoguing with your own mind in a way that it's building you up and helping
Mhm.
you to progress. I
Yeah.
think that's so powerful, and I'm really thankful for you sharing this story, because I'm
Mhm.
sure also all the listeners will be really inspired and feeling with you, and yeah, sending you also a lot of love. And
Mhm. Thank you.
yeah, so what would you say were things in your life that shaped you, and especially also maybe shaped you in a way that gave you beliefs that was holding you back, things you are freeing yourself now from? But what would you say were like things from your experience that actually limited you?
Mhm. What prior to sort of
Yeah.
RTT and sort of understanding how the mind works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing was anxiety and confidence. I suppose I got a lot of my confidence from external sources.
Mm-hmm.
I was always looking for like feedback. If people said good things about me, I felt good. If people
Yeah.
said bad things about me, I felt bad. If I thought I'd done something well, but then someone said, no, you haven't. Everything was external. And that made me, spend a lot of time feeling really awful about myself because, it depended on, I just let everything from the external tell me who I was. So it really impacts your life because then some days you're in a really good place, everything's going very well, so you're getting really good feedback, so you can do things, you can move forward. But then on the days where you know everything's not great, you just literally want to hide, just disappear, just go into bed, and just disappear from the world. And those are the days that were tricky to get through. So and that stops you sort of, I don't know, you're just constantly on a roller coaster of trying to just get through the day, really. And I think that stops me from like moving forward. You just stay in the same place because that's kind of safe, you know. Yeah. So I'd say that was the one of the biggest blocks.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the biggest blocks. And did you realize before you worked with RTT, with your mind, how, why, when these blocks came into your life? Did you have an idea, or was it just something that's been there and you couldn't really figure out why you have it?
Mm, it just felt like it was always there. I never had any kind of confidence in myself. So it was always looking for other people's kind of, if they kind of liked me and said nice things about me, then I must be a nice person. And if they didn't, then I was a horrible person. And it felt forever. As like you said, I can't think of like a particular point in time where I think, well, that's when it happened.
Mm.
It just, that's all I remember that I did,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. And I can relate so much, because I felt for a really long time the same way, like looking for external validation
Mm,
and just looking for approval from the outside. When you get the approval, you feel good about yourself, like you shared. But if you
mm,
don't get the approval, the praise, anything, you just feel horrible inside. And
mm,
it's just you're really fragile and dependent on the outside
mm,
circumstances, which puts so much pressure on you. I mean, it's just a heavy weight on the shoulders.
mm.
And so then, what was like a crucial moment when you for yourself felt, I need and I want to change something? So you opened your eyes towards solutions that could help you also in a more rapid way, maybe to overcome these challenges.
Mhm. You just get to a point where you're fed up because I had anxiety as well. So the anxiousness didn't help linked with looking for external sort of validation, and you just get to the point where you're just like, oh, I've had enough of this. I don't want to be like this anymore, because I was working, and I had lots of opportunities, but I'd run away from them because I was just, if it was a bad day, it was like I just can't do that. If it was a good day, I could do it, but it was really affecting like what I was, where I was, what I was doing, where I was going in terms of my career. And you just feel like, well, what's the point? What's my purpose? This is just, do you know what I mean? I started to sort of search, like you do, internet, YouTube, all the sort of the usual things to try and find, I suppose, something that can, I could connect with. And obviously that's when I saw, Marisa Peer,
Yeah.
and watched a lot of her videos, started doing, self-hypnosis, and it kind of just, it just sort of changed everything, really.
It does. Yeah.
That's all I can say. It just does change everything.
That's amazing. So you came, if I get you correctly, to a point where you just felt like you didn't want to progress anymore with the anxiety, with the all the right, with all the heaviness that didn't move you in a direction where you wanted to be, right, with your life. Also in regards to purpose, feeling connected with yourself, right, and what's probably also possible. Like, did you have the knowing or trust that this was possible to overcome this in a way?
To be quite honest, no. The time when I was in it, I thought this was just life. I just thought, no, this is just life. This is just how it is. I talk to other people and they just say, well, yeah, you just have to do the best you can. It's hard work. It's like walking through treacle. And it's like, okay. And I just thought to myself, no, I can't continue to live like this. There's got to be an answer. There's got to be a solution, in this big, amazing universe that we live in. There has got to be something.
Right.
Yeah. So then started to sort of search,
Yes.
what to read, and try and find a solution or something that could help,
Yes.
because the other alternative is going obviously, down tablets, that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
that wasn't for me. I didn't want to do that. So
No, that's really brave. And I think I mean, it speaks for your courage, and trust in, like you say, in this big, beautiful universe that there must be something out there. And I mean, you found it. I mean, I mean, the most important thing, right? And were there still any doubts when you talked about Marisa Peer, her teachings, right? And I mean, she's rated the UK #1 therapist, so she does incredible work. And did you still have any doubts, or were you just completely, this is it, when going into the process and also working with hypnotherapy on yourself?
well, I suppose it was just the amazingness of it. It's just even the simplest thing around, what are you saying to yourself? Because everyone has that voice in their head that constantly talks 24 hours a day, doesn't ever stop. You don't always hear it, but it's there. And if it's constantly negative, which obviously mine was, then to learn that you can change that narrative. I mean, I say to people, try it, but everyone is sometimes so like, oh, don't be so stupid, that can't possibly work. And I say, well, please just try it, just for a week. Just say something nice to yourself every day, constantly. And that's what I, started to do. Started to say, things that I was comfortable with. I mean, because I know if you start saying, I'm the most beautifulest person in the world, then logic's going to say, well, no, come on, you're not. But if you can start saying things like, I am a nice person. I am because I'm kind, so I'm kind. Just start to say simple things. Like I look after people. I am. So just, and it does work, and that's where I kind of almost started very simply without going into the hypnosis.
Yeah.
But just really, concentrating. And when the negativity come in, just said to myself, well, is that true? Is that true? So oh, you're rubbish. Okay, well, so is that true? So what have I done today that's rubbish?
Mhm.
And just really sort of start to challenge it, and that is life changing before you even move on to sort of the hypnosis part of it. Because when you start to do like self hypnosis and start to kind of like go back to scenes
Mm.
from your past that have affected it, you just realize, and you just really think, oh my god, really, that's amazing, and then you can just almost like, I don't know, just challenge that and say, well, is that still true? No. So it's the same kind of, I suppose, approach that you can take, asking, is that still true?
Yeah.
And then it just takes layers away.
Mm.
Really, it just is incredible.
Mm. It is incredible, and I love that you shared, that you started with dialoguing differently, and
Mm,
this doesn't even require like a hypnotic state or a deep relaxation state. It's just really changing consciously then your thoughts in your head, what you
mhm,
talk, tell yourself, and it's so so empowering. So I think a lot of our listeners can even get so much value already from this information and to challenge the thoughts. Is it really true? Like
mhm,
100% true?
mhm,
And I think that was so, so important and so valuable what you've just shared. Suzanne, so thank you for this. And then when you went into the session, because I think a lot of our listeners probably don't know yet about RTT, which stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy,
mhm.
which uses hypnosis and NLP, CBT, different modalities, really. So, could you describe just briefly the process and how it felt for you? The different steps, just whatever you recall and you feel important to share to our audience.
Mhm. Um, I suppose the first time I ever been hypnotized was just because I used to think that there's no way in the world I could be hypnotized, because I was such a control freak that there's no way I'm going to let go of my mind, and blah blah blah. But it was just so amazing to switch off. It's just so relaxing. You just kind of, it's just like letting go, and you feel so light and so relaxed as you sort of go into hypnosis. And then you start exploring, what is it from the past, that is affecting you now because of things that you decide about yourself in the past. um that kind of really, I suppose, drives what you're doing now. But when you look at those scenes, you just suddenly have those real sort of like, oh my god, that is incredible to think that is what is causing my issues. Because people always think it's something massive, some huge trauma, and it can be, but it can also be something very, very simple, very, very simple. So when you go back to those scenes and you explore them, um, and I think when we you did the session with me,
Mm.
we actually talked to my parents. You have that opportunity to do some dialogue, and I think that was really key as well, to
Wow.
be able to say the things that perhaps you can't say to them, or obviously if they're not with you anymore you can't, but if they are still alive, you can have that dialogue with them, and that really releases you know so much as well. And then, I mean, I can go into so much with RTT, because when you sort of go into that, where the part of you that's causing the issue as well,
Mm.
and really, like, go in and explore that and then release it. There's just so much that it just really, by the end of it, you just feel so light,
Mm.
just so calm, just
Mm.
so like, you just, yeah, it just feels like somebody's just took a heavy load off of you. You got this backpack full of weight and somebody just took it away from you, and you just think, yeah, that
And
feels really good.
and you radiate when you talk about the calmness and the lightness, right? So
Yeah.
what were some like what was for you like a light bulb moment maybe that you experienced during the session when you worked on the confidence and the overthinking? What was something where you felt like, oh, I didn't realize before?
Mm. Just trying to think of a specific moment. I mean, a lot of it, I think. I mean, a lot of, I suppose, the what helped was the dialogue
Hmm.
with my mum in particular, because I've had a few sort of sessions on different things, not necessarily this confidence that we dealt with, but I'd always avoided talking to my mum because it was I suppose because she died, and it was just like I you feel like disloyal
Yeah.
to want to sort of challenge
Hmm.
your your parents, um and I'd always avoided that because I didn't want to, because I love my mum, and you realize they do their best. We all do our best. I'm a parent, so we all do our best. We don't deliberately um cause problems for our children, but it just felt so difficult to talk to her, but you helped me through that, and I think that released so much. I don't know why, because I think there's lots of guilt and lots of issues around that was holding me back,
Oh.
and it just seemed to, I don't know, it just seemed to release just so much of the I don't know, maybe it was like because I wanted to move forward and show my mum what I could do. Maybe I don't know, but it was just such a profound moment
Hmm.
that really helped me
Hmm.
in terms of the session.
Hmm. And thank you so much for sharing this. And I think it's really important, oftentimes we don't realize how many things that are on our chest and
Hmm.
emotions we couldn't express before. Because I mean, oftentimes, especially when there are situations from childhood which, like you said, don't need to be traumatic in a sense, but still were like hard or not even able to express them in a sense, they just remain within us. So it's a really crucial part, and also in the work that I do, I feel it's really important to really dialogue out what sometimes within us, to release it and to let it out. And yeah, thanks also when we did the session that you know agreed to do it, and because you
Hmm.
mentioned you weren't before going there. So I think, I mean, it's always, I mean, it's a process, right, with client and the therapist, offering the session whatever works in that sense, and wherever the session can go. So I
Hmm.
think this was truly powerful, so thank you.
Hmm.
And what would you say after the session, when you had like the momentum, you felt, the weight lifted, kept you going, and helped you in the progress of your transformation?
um well, obviously you have the recording
Mm.
from the session that you continue to listen to, and I still listen to that, by the way. It's
Yeah.
it is like my absolute favorite. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I don't listen to it for a couple of days, and I think I need to pick up, I think to myself, I'm going to listen to that. I listen to you because it's just such a great recording that really makes me feel sort of, I just feel like the confidence in it. So, it just helps me. So I think sometimes that's a good thing to continue to listen to, because even though we say 21 days, I think continue to listen to it, because it just helps you um to continue that momentum. But it's also, once you get that momentum, you can look back and see what you've done, and then that helps you continue the momentum, if you know what I mean, because you've got evidence, so you
Yes.
can say to yourself, well, look, you did that, so why can't you do this? Do you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? You are completely capable. So it does help to build up that evidence. So when you have that conversation, because that voice does never goes away, you move forward, but then it keeps it because it's just there. So but you've got something to barter with, because you can say, well, look, didn't you see me do that? Wasn't that, and then well, yeah, I did. So then there's no reason why I can't do this then, because that's not any much different to that. So let's, continue to move forward. So I think the combination of the recording and the sort of evidence that you're building continues to drive you forward.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that was a really, really important thing you said, looking back, right? Because so oftentimes we only look forward and think what we haven't achieved, what's still not
Mhm.
working. But when you have the momentum and then you build upon it and then you look back and really see what you have already achieved, the progress you made, it makes
Mhm.
you feel good, it makes you feel proud, it gives you confidence, and then you keep on going. I think
Mhm.
that's a really, really important message you just shared. So thank you very much, Suzanne. And because I think it's always interesting because we all, I mean, because life is busy and we all try a lot of different things. Did
Mhm.
you have any other tools, methods, strategies you'd like to share with our audience that helped you on your journey of transformation?
Um, well, I suppose obviously, as well as RTT and Marissa, I can't sort of say enough about about her and her techniques.
Yes.
There's other people along the way that have helped me. Coaches that I've worked with that have helped in particular things. Because I think, even though we're kind of coaches, you still need your own coaches, because we're on a journey. Learning never stops. And you just have to continue to sort of work on yourself and move forward. So a particular coach, I mean, Victoria Brenham, I'll mention her because I suppose I'm not so sure I'm supposed to be name dropping, but she was someone I met on a Marisa Peer RTT sort of 21-day challenge that I did. We sort of kept in contact, and she's an amazing coach, and she's sort of really challenged me at times, because I can be a bit, I can go into myself and be a bit more sort of like, oh, victim, or it's not my fault, it's everyone else's fault. So she's just really good at sort of saying, hang on a minute, is it? What what's happened? So she's really good at really sort of picking me up and drawing me out when sometimes I can be a bit sort of you know down. So that's really helped. And I mean, I love Gabrielle Bernstein
Mhm.
as well. I listen to her meditations. I read all her books, and she's really helped me to be more spiritual. I've always said I'm not, I'm not that, but reading her books and opens your mind up to the universe, as does RTT and the power of the universe. And the combination of RTT and reading sort of Gabby's books and listening to her podcast and all that has really sort of, I don't know, opened my mind to knowing that there is something else out there.
Yeah,
And being, I suppose, thinking about what I want rather than moaning about what I don't want
yeah,
is really effective. So that's really helped me move forward as well. And I still listen to Gabby's podcast.
hmm,
And if I have a particular moment, she's got some really sort of really quick meditations that you can just kind of quickly sort of switch your mindset if you're really struggling. So yeah, I love her. Yeah, so that's really helped.
yeah, that's great. So what I hear is it's quite also shifting, right, the perspective, right? So
Mm,
shifting perspective, maybe when you focus on it's everybody else's fault to maybe how can you
yeah.
be empowered to change something? Is that right?
Rather than saying, why is this happening to me? I
Hmm.
say, why is this happening for me?
Hmm. I love that. That's
So,
so powerful. That's
mm,
incredible, Suzanne. I love that.
mhm.
And it's the questions we ask, right? If we ask ourselves different questions, we find different answers.
Exactly.
So it's
Mhm.
so powerful. I love that you shared that. That's really, really powerful. And Suzanne, on your transformational journey, I think it's also really interesting. What was for you a breakthrough moment where you really felt proud of yourself and how far you've come so far?
Um, I don't know. I suppose it's every time, something happens, like something happen, for example, recently, because I, as well as like being an RTT therapist, I also have like a, full-time job career.
Mhm.
And recently that ended. And I think, when I look back, that would have been like catastrophic. It would have been one of those things. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Blah, blah. Panic, panic, panic. Oh, what is this happening? So, but I didn't. I just went, oh, right, okay. Well, this is obviously supposed to happen. So there's something out there for me. And I just need to, to sort of find what that is. But I don't need to panic about it, because the right job, the right future for me is happening for me. So I don't need to go into panic mode and, start to sort of stress out. And so that made me suddenly feel that I think to myself, well, I've grown up. Finally. you know took,
Congrats.
took that kind of like accountability for myself, rather than you know sort of saying, oh, it's everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
It's okay. It happens, and everything's happening as it should be. I'm where I should be right now, and it's all going to come together um when it's supposed to.
Yes. Yes, I love this. And I think this already blends in perfectly with what I wanted to ask about, like, what was the profound mindset shift you experienced, in a belief, in your thinking, that just sort of changed the switch for you?
Mm. But I suppose it was finding a bit that sort of that belief in the universe
Hmm.
really helped to switch sort of how I think and how I feel. It's kind of like if I want to create something for myself, there's no point me sitting there sobbing my heart out saying, oh, it's not fair, because I'm going to get more of that. That's so what I need to do is I need to step away from that and say, right, what is it that I want? What do I want my life to look like going forward? Who do I want to be? And see that, and spend time every day visualizing that. So if there's a particular place I want to work, then I see that. I go into the office, I say hello, and I really like feel how that feels, because so visualizing what I want, which I never would have done that before. Like I said, I would have just fallen into a mess and said it's not fair, the world hates me, and that's it. Sort of stayed there, until somebody pulled me out and told me to stop being so silly.
And now you can take your own responsibility and your own empowerment, right, to
Mhm,
move you towards the direction where you want to go instead. But sometimes that's really hard, right? Especially when you're
mhm,
really in the state of feeling anxiety and doubt, and it's hard sometimes to pull yourself out there. So what would you say, or what advice would you give to a person who struggles to find what they actually want
mhm,
because they're so focused on knowing what they don't want? How do you
mhm,
approach it, and what helped you and what helps you?
mhm. Um, or I mean, like I said, how I approach it myself is to visualize what I want my life to be. Um, but when I talk to people, sometimes that can be quite brutal, because everything is a choice. This is the thing. You can choose to to focus on what you want, or you can choose, or you can choose to do nothing, but that's still a choice. Everything is a choice. But that's really tricky for people who are, when you are really in that, because you can drop. And that, if you're saying to yourself, well, come on, then you can start saying, well, actually, that's not nice to say that. People can get quite defensive because we don't like to be told that we can do something about it. We want someone else to do something about it.
Yeah.
So it can be quite tricky. But I try to say to people, I say, well, okay, that sounds really awful, the place that you are at the moment. But can you think of perhaps one thing that you could do that could change things? Just one little thing. What could you do that could change this? And that could be something as little as, when you get up out of bed in the morning, make your bed, rather than not make your bed. It seems silly, but then you feel like you've achieved something.
Yes.
So start to do those kind of, to some things. So I would say to people, what's one thing, a little thing that you could do each day that could help you? And
Yeah.
then when they start to sort of get a bit of momentum, then it's a case of, okay, well, what would you like? You're like, so you can start to throw in the bit about well, what would you like life to look like?
Hmm.
And then you will always get yeah, but that's not available to me. That's not possible for me. And it's kind of like, okay, well, if there was nothing stopping you,
Hmm.
what would and then get them to sort of, I suppose, really get into that, write that down, describe it, and get the feelings, because it's one thing to see it. There's another thing to feel it. How would that feel if you had that? How would you feel?
Absolutely. I am totally agree, Suzanne, and I think it's a great advice, starting with where you are today. So,
Mm-hmm.
and acknowledging, if you feel right now not at your best, if you have a lot of self-doubt, acknowledge always how you feel in this
Mm-hmm.
moment. And then build momentum with little things. I love that because it gives you confidence and it builds you up. Like you said, even if it's making your bed, you did something, even if it's a little thing, and then you can maybe do a second thing and you build up on it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good advice. And then shifting slowly but
Yeah.
surely the focus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good advice for everyone who's currently like in a low place, because I mean, the more we are consumed by negativity, the harder it might be, to shift the focus.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's great advice for everyone who's listening, and
Mm-hmm.
we can all apply it, right? Do a
Yeah.
little thing and then maybe a second and a third.
Well, that's it, because you need to move yourself away from where you are, because it's hard to really, get to that sort of place, because you can't believe that you can.
Yes.
That's why you're stuck. So if you could try to do little things
Hmm.
every day to get to move yourself from that place to this place, then from here you might be able to literally see what potentially could be yours, what your life could look like. But it's hard to do it from the depths.
Absolutely, especially on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard.
Yeah.
So that's so empowering, and for you, having dealt with anxiety and low confidence, and now being on this podcast, and not just even being recorded with your voice but also with your video, you are a shining example of what's possible
Mm-hmm.
in a rapid transformation, to shine your light, to express yourself, and to empower others also. And for me, that's also like so inspiring. I'm really grateful that you
Mm-hmm.
share also all your insights and your authentic story with us today. And Suzanne, what would be 3 things you would like to tell our audience? What can they do to improve their confidence based on your experience?
Okay. The first thing is, you need to feel it inside. So you need to, I suppose, love yourself. I mean, it's a cliche, everyone says it, but you do, because you can't, you're not going to feel comfortable if or confident if you don't if you don't love yourself, if you don't feel confident in yourself. So the first thing is, and it's something I still do every day, is I say to myself, I love myself. If you can say it in the mirror, and actually look into your own eyes and say it, and that's when it gets tricky because it feels very uncomfortable. But that's a brilliant place to start, because it's it is hard to argue with something so simple. So I think that's what I would say. That's what I would say if I went back. They say if you go back in time, that's what the thing I would say to my teenage self is to say that to myself as many times a day as I could possibly do it. When I'm cleaning my teeth or whatever. Just keep saying it over and over again, because it really does start with that. Everything starts with that. To be quite honest, so that's the first thing. What else would I say? Um, I would say give yourself space and time to deal with emotions. Because this world wants us to hurry. They don't want you to sit and deal with things. You're supposed to just, things happen and you're supposed to just move on. But every time something happens to you, there's an emotion, and you need to sit in that, deal with it, and then let it go. And if you don't, it will find a way to make you. So I think that's really important. And then the third thing, and I think it's that third thing again, which is sort of I was talking about at the beginning, is just listen to what you're saying to yourself, and 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 just sit for a moment. I know other people say, "I can't sit quietly, I can't sit quietly," but just try and just, even if it's just for a minute, just sit and just quiet and listen. And what are you saying to yourself? What's running through your head? And is it true? Yeah.
Question it.
Yeah. Challenge it.
Yeah, challenge
Mhm.
it. Absolutely. Amazing three insights, Suzanne, and I think that's so valuable for everybody's listening who's experiencing something similar, or knows a person who could benefit from it. So definitely share it. And what else, and what last words would you like to leave our audience with?
Um, just that, everything is available to you. Whatever you want, you can have. So, dream big, and step into the light.
Yes.
Hmm.
Absolutely, I love it, because I think you stepped into your light, and now
Hmm.
you're shining your light. You express yourself, you talk about your experience, and it's very similar for me, right? And it's what empowers others. So the more empowered we become, the more we can shine our light as a guide, maybe even also for others. And it's a really beautiful thing to do. It can be scary at first,
Yeah.
especially in our society where we often learn to like you said, it's a fast society. We should move on fast, and we shouldn't grieve too long. We shouldn't feel too much. So
Hmm.
it's maybe even being a rebel, and doing things differently in the most positive way.
Hmm.
So, and knowing it's available to you. I love that. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
Hmm.
I'm really, really glad you did this show with me today and shared all your amazing insights and your authentic story, empowering also others. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. And remember, no matter what challenge you face, you have the power within yourself, and use your untapped power of the mind and also the subconscious mind, which can get you pretty much anything you want and desire in life, and live the life you dream of. It's been great to have you here today, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.